So let's try and make sense of this big deal that's being talked about so extensively. Joining me on India First is Lieutenant General Rakesh Sharma, former Ladakh Corps Commander and Distinguished Fellow at the Center for Land Warfare Studies. General, welcome on India First. Today is the 3rd anniversary of the Galwan face-off with China. Indian Navy already has Sea Guardians, of course, on lease. The DAC has given a nod for procurement of more drones. What's the message? What's the signal? And is this China specific?
So thank you for inviting me, Gaurav. The question is that we are upgrading and modernizing a force and seriously doing it. The fact of the matter is that we require drones very urgently. We've been seeking these drones for the last 8 years, and the negotiations have been going on for a very long time. At 2020, when all these things happened against us in Eastern Ladakh, we were woefully short of equipment like drones, especially at the tactical level and also at the operational and strategic level. Navy had 2 drones, and the Navy has been flying 2 drones of the same variety on the seas, but then there were nothing available on the over the horizon picture for the line of actual control. Yes. So this makes a tremendous change and tremendous difference. The height it flies, the depth that it can look into. So as an ISR upgradation, and then ISR is being upgraded, continually in the course of last 3 years. But these are game changer. If the Army gets 10 and the Air Force also gets 10 and all are being utilized in tandem in one manner, then of course we have a vision deep inside the Tibetan Xinjiang, and it will be a game changer. And of course, it also provides a lethal aspect of it, the targets and the equipment that it carries across, the missiles it carries across, and the long ranges that it can fire off. So this is indeed, as they say, a game changer for us. It's a very expensive toy.
Yes.
But having said that, it was most essential for us to have this to get our ISR going the way we need to do so.
Fair enough. General, the proposed GE414 engines for LCA Mark II and the AMCA, the Predator drones, the M777 light howitzers, the new armored fighting vehicles, just join all these dots. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, when he travels to the United States, will be talking about almost all and more. So what's the message to an expansionist China? This is India arming itself for more than just Galwan-like border skirmishes.
So truthfully, and you rightly pointed out, look at what these 2 senior colonels said in the course in Shangri-La dialogue. They said Indian is the modernization industry not ready for it, and India's modernization is weak. And look what President Xi Jinping said in the course of this week in Mongolia, Inner Mongolia. He said we'll create a steel wall of defense or something like that.
Yes.
The steel wall of defense, he doesn't have to fight against Mongolia or any one of the other land borders. He's telling India this. That message was conveyed only with one country that, on which land borders that they have problems. So, it's a message being conveyed to us through many ways, being carried out by President Xi Jinping himself or the senior colonels that they had put across in Shangri-La dialogue. So having said that, we have to prepare ourselves. If you add on to what the Chinese have done in the course of 3 years on the Tibetan plateau and in the areas opposite Eastern Ladakh, there are tremendous changes being brought across there. Of course, we have done commensurate work, but the Chinese have actually brought about the threat right next to our borders. With the formations there, with the kind of roads being built and the kind of runways being created, the heliports being created, the demographic changes being carried out on the border, the threat has been brought as close to it. It didn't exist before 2020, but that's the threat version today by their speaking, by their strategy they want to show, and also by physical location of forces, the way they're planning to do so. So we have to respond, and a response has to be in a manner that is not platforms alone. It's the way you fight. Larger countries have been defeated by smaller neighbors. Look at Afghanistan defeating Soviet Union and United States. And look at what the bigger countries have felt in Libya or Syria or Vietnam or,
yes,
or Korea. We have to be prepared with what we want to fight with. and fight how we want to fight. That's the issue. The war fighting, the methodology of war fighting, and what we require to fight with. That planning is what is being done now.
Okay. General, is China getting the message that India will fight back and not permit salami slicing of Indian territory like in the past? Or in your appreciation, will China just continue with its pinpricks to test India's resolve, whether it's in Ladakh or Barahoti sector, in the middle sector, or in Sikkim or in Arunachal Pradesh? Or will China plan something like 1962, a big push into India? What's your appreciation?
So, you see, what they have tried in the course of in 2020 when they came up, but Galwan is just one major event that happened in that period. 700 kilometers of front they addressed between Rakhi Nala and Demchok Nala. Yes. Very large frontage they addressed simultaneously.
And so this is Eastern Ladakh. For the benefit of our viewers, the general commanded his corps there. Go on, sir.
And no, 700 kilometers, and they came and nibbled across into the territory, denying us patrolling rights. Look at what he's done now. When the last talks took place, he says, we want another 15 to 20 kilometers of buffer zone in the area towards Burse. So he actually, in Burse area from Rakhi Nala, he has not reached the 7th of November 59 line. So he wants to inch forward in that area also. So he's a dissatisfied country on the borders, absolutely dissatisfied. It comes also across in Yangtze, which is dissatisfied with the McMahon line there. And then, of course, he does training and exercises in areas in proximity to the borders.
Can I briefly interrupt you to ask, he's dissatisfied because he was pushed back, because there was resistance, because he lost life, and because he hasn't succeeded in his aim? Is that why he's dissatisfied?
So he's dissatisfied because of all this talk about sovereignty and territorial integrity. It's explicit that, they are stuck into those so-called 7th of November 59 line, which has no sanctity, which is no legality, which is it's absolutely arbitrary line that they drew it, and they now want to move forward to this 7th of November line. And on the McMahon line, right from beginning, they were dissatisfied. They were not accepting McMahon line. Of course, Arunachal Pradesh is another issue altogether. In this century, they can't take on Arunachal Pradesh for any matter. So they are dissatisfied because of this talk about territorial integrity and the land left by our forefathers and all the language that they have spoken in the course of last 5 to 7 years. Having said that, I think we understood in 2020 that this nibbling thing will continue. And if we do not actually get on and pull up our socks to deny any more attempt to nibble at the borders, we will be a loser. And therefore, the first posture change that we did, even before we went across to build up our forces in commensurate levels, was to deny any further nibbling, which, as you mentioned about, is salami slicing. So right from one end of the border to all 4,000 kilometers to Kibitu, it has been denied. Now that nibbling is not possible because we are located there and we are building infrastructure to sustain forces to deny the nibbling. Having said that, it is also a message to the Chinese. Look, you want to come and take on this territory which you claim to be from Chawanlai days yours, fight it out. Fight it out. It cannot be taken by a surreptitious nibbling like what Sun Tzu used to say, acme or skill. That is past. That's past.
So now we've realized that China is not our friend. China is a lying enemy. That realization is there. But General, does the defense of our territory from Arunachal Pradesh to Ladakh in the Himalayas, does it lie in the Indian Ocean? If China presses us in the north, will there be consequences for China at the Malacca Straits choke point? Is that an option? Does China realize that?
I'm not too sure about this answer to this question here. You see, there are two different things. There's a territorial border, then there is a maritime frontier. A maritime frontier, Chinese has got strong weaknesses and we have strengths across there. But maritime frontier also has an issue of mercantile trade, which is also sustains countries like Japan or South Korea or countries like Southeast Asia. So all that trade also goes through the same 10-degree channel and the 5-degree channel and the Malacca Straits, through which the navies also pass through. So, a war in maritime frontier has got international dimension. It's a different dimension altogether. It expands it. The Chinese anxiety is certainly there on the maritime frontier,
Okay.
but the maritime frontier has got different connotations altogether.